Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for my rational perspective on a Chelsea 4, Malmo 0. A convincing win last night, a very comfortable win at Stamford Bridge. I think that is the biggest win under Thomas Tuchel. We've had the 4-1 against Crystal Palace, obviously, was the biggest since he arrived last season. But last night, very convincing, very easy for Chelsea. Needed to happen because I think for a variety of factors, if you just isolate it down to the Champions League group, losing against Juventus, we need to get 6 points out of the next two games. So we're halfway there now before we face, I think, Juventus again at the back end of November. So that's obviously very important for Chelsea in the context of this group. But as well, the confidence of the team, getting that attacking rhythm that we have been frustrated by. But it did get dampened, obviously, by the injuries to Timo Werner and Romelu Lukaku in the first half. And it does provide some opportunities, I think, for players who need minutes in the first team, and it could help them in the upcoming games. But in terms of that overall attacking rhythm, if Lukaku's going to be out for a while, it's a massive blow to Chelsea. It really is, to try and find that chemistry. And as well, Timo Werner, who isn't always scoring the goals, but if you look at stats, he is contributing to a lot of Chelsea's goals so far this season and kind of creating chances. So frustrating on that side, but it was a very convincing win. Just to go through some stats, another clean sheet for Chelsea. Edouard Mendy's incredible UEFA Champions League record, 15 games, 11 clean sheets, only 4 goals conceded. He was the goalkeeper of the season last year, and of course was a Champions League winner, the best in the world, and this follows, of course, his heroic performance against Brentford. Jorginho was given man of the match. He made 8 tackles against Malmo, more than any other player managed in a single game in match day 3 of the Champions League, so this week, and he tucked away, obviously, 2 penalties. Quite interesting to see Jorginho's new penalty technique. It was very different to the hop and skip. There was a little sort of, I guess, hop before he took it, but it was very much drilled penalties, almost Frank Lampard-esque, just the way he drove them into the top corner both times, beating 2 keepers, because obviously Malmo replaced their keeper at half-time. But great to see Jorginho back. Just briefly on this, I think, he looked refreshed. He didn't look as energetic pre the international break. This is his first start, or last night was his first start since, I believe, the Juventus game, the last Champions League game. So he looks refreshed, looks ready to go. I suspect he'll be in the team again on Saturday. Very experienced player, very key player for Thomas Tuchel. And going into that XG of Chelsea last night, 2.64, which obviously was a lot better from the other night against Brentford. Trying to create high quality opportunities is a big thing for Chelsea. 2 of those were penalties granted, and you look at the other 2 from a set piece. Andreas Christensen getting his first goal, which we'll get to, and a really nice counter-attacking move between Callum Hudson-Odoi and Kai Havertz. So I felt there were optimistic things to take away from last night. I know everyone will be dismissive. If you want to be cynical, you'll say it's Malmo. Chelsea should be winning this game convincingly, but you hope this confident win will give us some belief going into the weekend, and momentum, and players getting together and having those nice attacking patterns of play that we want to see, as Chelsea can create more opportunities and win games a little bit more convincingly than they have so far this season. But let's talk about Andreas Christensen. His first goal in 137 attempts. Stats in terms of defensively, it's now 42 clean sheets for Christensen in 52 competitive games, which is a bit ridiculous. Summarises how big his transformation has been at Chelsea this year, how much he's matured as a defender. Speaking about it recently with Jay McIntosh, who's obviously working with me at Football London, but is a great mate of mine, a massive fan of Christensen. I've obviously had my doubts about him in the past. I've been proven wrong, and it's great to see how confident and assured he is in the first team. You suspect that new contract will be pretty soon. I'm not sure if Christensen's now going to add a goal bonus to it if he starts finding the back of the net. I believe that makes Christensen scoring, and Jorginho and Christensen scoring last night means that I think Chelsea have had like 13 or 14 goal scorers so far this season. So we are sharing the goals around, which is good, even if we aren't scoring as many goals as maybe we'd like to. But it does show there are goals to go around, especially from defensive players, and you need that at times, especially if the attack isn't really clicking, which it hasn't been. But so happy for Christensen, and Thiago Silva as well. I thought was brilliant again last night. Sure, that defense didn't have to do a lot of work, but Rudiger, Christensen, Thiago Silva, I felt were really good last night, and just I think a really confident display for all 3. As I say, Jorginho having that slightly different penalty technique, very much dominating a game you expect him to against a lower quality opposition. Let's talk about Lukaku and Werner. Such a shame because, I was interested to see that within that team selection, which is pretty strong, pretty much a select group of players, a majority, especially from last season, very trusted players under Tuchel. So he wasn't taking many risks, even Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who's been playing well, was not in the starting 11. Trevor Chalobah not in the starting 11. Malang Sarr, I don't even think in the squad last night. So he very much went back to the players he trusts the most. Even having Dave obviously start at right wing back rather than Reece James, who I suspected would have started last night. But he went with Werner and Lukaku again for the third game in a row, and you're sort of thinking, is he now persisting with that? But both players are now likely out injured. I mean, Lukaku, you suspect he's going to be out for Norwich game. How much beyond that? Is it just a really bad knock that he has to take a few days out? Or is it something more sort of dangerous than that? Something that is going to be more serious and is going to keep him out for longer. We hope, of course, it's the former, in terms of him only missing maybe 1 or 2 games, because we obviously need Lukaku back. Because despite the fact he hasn't scored in a couple of weeks, he still is the £98 million forward. We know if Chelsea get him into the right areas, provide the ball to him, he will score goals for Chelsea this year. So it could cost us a lot in the coming weeks as Chelsea need to rack up some points with the favourable fixtures, especially in the Premier League. And Timo Werner, a hamstring. So you suspect that could be anywhere up to 2 to 3 weeks, even a month. We've seen with some players before. So for him, a real shame, because he was getting back into the starting 11, and other players now have the opportunity to really impress Tuchel and take his place. I think the 2 obvious players who, sounds a bit callous because it is an injury, but it's just a reality of the situation, who I think will benefit from this is Callum Hudson-Odoi and Kai Havertz. More so Havertz, because I'm more confident Havertz will be starting under Tuchel than Callum Hudson-Odoi will. But the way they linked up for that third Chelsea goal was really good, and I think it showed once again Callum's ability in the final third to pick the right pass, the relationship he has with players. Kai's really good run, sort of on the outside, and a really delicate chip. That elegance that Kai has in his game, and sort of performing in that sort of false 9, number 9 role that he played so well in at the back end of last season, hasn't been able to do it for obvious reasons, obviously because of Lukaku's arrival, and that is something that he's going to have to deal with, because once Lukaku's fit, he's coming back into the team. So trying to find Kai's best position might be a little bit tricky. We haven't really seen Kai play as another forward alongside Lukaku. We've seen him more as sort of an inverted number 10, a little bit behind Rom. So I'd be intrigued to see that. But I think, Kai Havertz, massive for him, because he really hasn't kicked on from that Champions League winner. And hopefully last night will be sort of the start of it for him, and hopefully he will be starting again against Norwich. And I just think Callum, I'll probably make a video about this again, Callum needs to be getting minutes. We kept him instead of him going out on loan for a reason, and I think Tuchel, this is the perfect opportunity in terms of Callum's, as I say, I think the stats around his influence despite limited minutes, especially off the left. I think the relationship he can have with Ben Chilwell on that left side, especially the way inverted wing backs is something I've been noticing over recent weeks. The positioning of Chilwell, who makes those inverted runs, but also Dave on the other side, kind of playing as midfielders, very Pep Guardiola-esque, the way our wing backs have been moving in recent times, which I find quite interesting in terms of the way Tuchel is looking to build up attacks. But I'd be intrigued to see that against Norwich. Callum with Chilwell, with Kai, that relationship. I remember a front three containing Cho and Havertz. I think it was against Everton, and they played really well together that night. So I think there is a natural link there that I want to see be used a little bit more, and hopefully Tuchel can benefit from it with Werner and Lukaku likely out. I do think it was a very confident display, a very comfortable win. I think in the end, it's kind of what I expected. It's nice to get more than, say, 2 goals, and get those goals going up, because I think it's something Chelsea need to do, especially when you look at the likes of Liverpool and Man City, the way they're consistently able to score that amount of goals. I know most of the time it's just about getting the result, but you do feel, and I think for entertainment purposes, whether it's relevant or not at Chelsea, and just confidence, I think Chelsea really need to make sure in the next few weeks they're putting away teams and making a few statements and really showing their attacking class. And as I say, Werner, Lukaku being out it's a massive blow, but it does give the opportunity for players who haven't impressed so far to do that. Mason Mount can hopefully find some good form. I think he had a pretty decent performance last night. Hopefully he can come back into even better form. Callum Hudson-Odoi getting an opportunity, maybe finally in his favourite position. Kai Havertz too. If Hakim Ziyech can rediscover some good form. Pulisic potentially coming back from injury, kind of wondering how long he'll stay fit for. But, there are options for Tuchel to choose from. It's not like Chelsea are completely out of numbers. I know the argument about not having a classic number 9 to replace Lukaku, but I think Kai can be that guy. I really do. And I think it was working last season. So I'd like to see that tried with Tuchel again. But thank you guys for watching. Let me know your opinions on the game in the comments below, and I will see you again.